Call to order the regular meeting of the City of Aransas Pass City Council, January 21st, 2020 at 6 p.m. Let's all rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Dear Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the blessings that you have bestowed upon us, my Father. We thank you, my Father, for this country that we live in, my Father, and all the freedoms and the liberties that we enjoy, my Father. And we know that that did not come easy. It came with the price of so many lives that have been given for our freedom. We pray, my Father, that you be with us, the City Council, that you guide us, my Father, according to the decisions that we are to make, my Father, that we make the decisions that are best for our city, my Father. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, House Bill 2840 approved by the 86th legislature states that governmental bodies shall allow each member of the public who desires to address the body regarding an item on the agenda may do so either before or during consideration of an item. Citizens who wish to speak on an agenda item will have an opportunity to address the body before the item is discussed and will be given a 3-minute time limit to make their comments. Now we're going to go to presentations and proclamations. First one is Project Annual Report from Eric Howard, H2O Partners.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, Gary and staff. Reason for being here tonight is to give you a brief update on the last year of activity with your Harvey recovery, with the FEMA public assistance and the FEMA mitigation programs. And with me tonight to help shine a little more light than I could on it is Ben Wolf, who's our project manager. Many of you know Ben and have seen him in your offices here over the last year. And Pam Hawkins, who's our director of program operations for H2O Partners. Has been with us for 15 years, started with Katrina in Mississippi in 2005 and continues to do great work for us. And so you benefit from her knowledge and Ben's knowledge much more than mine, I guarantee. But I'd like to start very briefly with just a project overview. H2O's engagement with the city began in May of 2017. I think we had some contract negotiations immediately prior to that, but our first time on the ground was in May. And it's been a long road since May, but there's still some left to travel, a few projects, and I'm going to ask Ben Wolf to come up immediately after I give the overview to give you some detail on those outstanding projects that are still out there. Many of them I'm sure you're familiar with and know why some of them are delayed and some of the reasons for that. But one thing I can tell you that the road between May 17 and today has been made so much easier based on the professionalism of your staff. Gary and his folks, Gary runs a tight ship around here. We work with a lot of communities across the country. Roxanne and I were just talking about the work that we do all over the United States with communities that are going through similar disasters. And the professionalism that Gary and his staff has exhibited here have made your recovery smoother, quicker, and you've been able to bring more money into the recovery process because of that. And specifically want to recognize Sandra and Fernando. Sandra has given every piece of financial data we need. Even now that we've been here for a while, she anticipates what we're going to need before we ask for it. Has done a fantastic job in providing all that documentation. Fernando's done a great job too on the engineering side, public works side, and helping us scope these projects and been very responsive. One thing we talked briefly about today with Gary is that even after the last dog dies in this process, the Inspector General for FEMA has 4 or 5 years if they can come audit any of the grant programs that they administer. And that typically will be done through the state, through the Texas Division of Emergency Management. And I will use the word guarantee. I can guarantee you that the quality of the documentation that your community has provided is gonna make you audit proof. You've done a really good job. So one thing you're not gonna have to worry about is FEMA and TDM coming back into your community asking for de-obligations and refunds of any of this money. It's airtight. You guys have done a really, really good job.
Before you go on,
Sure.
I just want to say thank you very much, because we understand that. So it's great for you to acknowledge the professionalism and the expertise that these people are showing us. So
Well,
thank you very much for
You're
that.
so welcome, and it makes our job easy, and you'll see that in some of our numbers in billing. You'll see how much of our billing is down because you guys have done such a great job at providing the documentation. And believe me, we see other communities that don't have the expertise or the professionalism, and won't name any names, but some of them are very close by here that their path to recovery is not nearly as smooth as yours has been. And that's because of your staff, so they're to be commended. So there were 69 separate incidents of eligible infrastructure damage recorded after Hurricane Harvey within your city limits. So that's 69 eligible, and they were rolled into 39 projects. Some of the smaller ones were rolled up together. A lot of the street and culvert smaller projects were combined. So there were 39 project worksheets finally submitted to to TDM for FEMA recovery. 35 of those have been obligated. So at just south of $20 million in grants have come your way based on those 35 projects. That leaves 4 outstanding. And in just a minute, I'll have Benny come up and he'll get to walk you through those 4 so you understand where they are and why they are where they are. Because it's important going forward. You'll have some decisions to make that will influence the final recovery regarding those. HCO Partners was also asked to come in and help you in the latter stages of a mitigation grant application. And we have done that for this last year. Our last task order encompassed that. It's the total amount of the grants we prepared or we helped you justify was $1,720,000 for 2 generators and 25 dry prime pumps. And we understand that TDM has received that grant application, and we have amended previous versions, and it looks very likely to be awarded within this, your fiscal year runs through May or June? I forget. September, okay. So very likely to be awarded by the end of this, this fiscal year. Out of the 1.72 million, 1.290 million will come as a federal grant, and $430,000 will be local share. So that's on your side to come up with the $430,000. However, there will be some additional Harvey recovery monies available to you for these mitigation projects. We don't know yet when the application period will open. This is HUD, CDBG, DR money, Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery, CDBG DR monies, and that's administered by the Texas General Land Office. There's $16 billion in that fund, which includes all Harvey affected communities, counties, excluding Harris and Houston. So it's a pretty good chunk of money. You guys should be well positioned to get your share of that. Some of this may be used to offset your local share on the mitigation projects. Some of it may be available for yet to be determined mitigation projects. The Texas General Land Office has a request for proposal out right now to begin scoping projects along the river drainage basins in South Texas. Region 1 is the Trinity Basin in Houston. Region 2, the Brazos River Basin. Region 3 is Nueces River Basin, and that's where you guys would take part in. So all the counties in those 3 basins will have a scoping process where you'll go through and determine mitigation projects that you want to apply for grants for. And as you know, HUD, CDBG dollars are very flexible. They come with fewer restrictions than FEMA dollars do. They still have to comply with HUD policy, but you will be available, and as I mentioned to your city manager this morning, I believe that you will be near the top of the list as one of the landfall communities. So make sure when that time comes around, that I'm estimating in the next 18 months to 24 months for scoping, that we get as much citizen participation in that as possible. Your civic groups, Chamber of Commerce, school districts, everybody stands to gain, and these are usually large projects, so it's worth putting time and effort into. And we, H2O Partners, most likely won't be able to represent you in that process. The GLO will send out groups that'll do that, but we're always there, as we told Gary. Oops, sorry. We're always there to help you. Did I break it?
I think we're all right.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, no, you scared me there. I flail my hands around when I talk about millions of dollars. There you go, okay. So, without further ado, I'll introduce Ben Wolf and have him walk you through the outstanding projects, and then following Ben, Pam will walk you through the status of the mitigation projects, and then I'll conclude briefly with a discussion of our open business arrangement that for the next year.
Good afternoon. I've had the pleasure of being here ever since May of 2017. Not quite so much lately on an interim basis. I want to echo what Eric said. I've been doing public assistance work since '05 Katrina, and the fertilizer plant explosion in West Texas that I know y'all are familiar with, and Hurricane Sandy up in New York, but I've been all over. I work with a lot of folks. I've never met any that have been any more cooperative and more helpful than the folks here at Aransas Pass. It's a pleasure to come in when you know you're going to be helped, not having to pull something from somewhere. Eric mentioned there were 35 obligated projects. Just as a reminder, an obligated project is one that the applicant and FEMA has agreed upon the extent of the damage, the scope of what it takes to repair that damage, and the cost associated with that. And currently there are 4 that are non-obligated at this point. The first one is the Civic Center building. It's in the FEMA insurance review, and 406 mitigation has been approved for that. Now, the mitigation that was approved at the Civic Center has been some gutters along the front of the building that did not exist before, where water came in and got in some of the offices on the inside. The other was the repair structurally of the drive-through out in front of the building. That's $36,000. That is added to the damages that were already being done. And that's about a $735,000 project. The next one that is not yet obligated is the equipment at the Civic Center. That is involved in insurance, and with a recent conversation with Sandra today, it appears that insurance company will reimburse for all of the equipment that was damaged. So ultimately, this project probably will be withdrawn. Duplication of benefits is what happens when you get into the insurance. FEMA wants to pay you for what you actually lost, but if you're going to get insurance for it, that's taken off the top of that. And quite often, in a lot of cases, particularly in some of your larger structures, FEMA does an anticipated insurance of what they think from reading the policy it's going to be. But until the insurance is actually resolved, and that's the issue with the Civic Center building itself. The final insurance dollars has not been actually resolved with that. They're still working. Sandra and the insurance companies and Gary are still working together on that one. The the Aquatic Center is in FEMA final review just before being submitted to EMI. EMI is a large database where they put all the projects in, and from there it's obligated, and the money then is being able to come once you have proved you have spent that money, and you have to show that you've actually spent it, and you've got a cancel check to show that you've actually done so. So the Aquatic Center building is real close to being actually obligated. The last one is the Harbor Master building relocation. That's a specialized project. That's an improved project. An improved project is one where the dollars are worked out in advance with the scope of the work and the damages and everything that's done. And then once that's done, then that's the limit of what you can have. And the reason this is an improved project is, of course, the Harbor Master Building, the old metal one, was across the harbor and it's gone. Now they want to put it over on this side of the harbor. So that will be an improved project. It's an environmental review. Right now, there was some concerns about the elevations of what the new building will be. And quite frankly, back before in December, we were finally made aware one day that the FEMA had, with their GPS, was looking at actually a different location than where the building itself was going to go. And with the building inspector's help and the new flood maps, we were able to show FEMA this is where it's really going to be. So they're now resolving those issues as far as environmental and what the elevation will be for the final part of that. There's another project that is the sinkhole project. It's not actually a project yet. We requested that it be made a project. There were a number of places that Fernando and the Public Works folks had identified around town that had part of a pipe gone, the side edge of the road gone, but there, there were various and sundry places. FEMA has not yet ruled on whether to make that a project or not. But it's my understanding, correct me, Gary or Sandra, if I'm wrong, that if FEMA says no, you still have some state grants that you have access to provide that same level of work for that. The last that's shown up here, I believe, is the completed projects. Of the 35, 15 have been totally completed, and there are others that have been just about completed, but when you're done, you have to certify to the Texas Department of Environmental Management that you have completed the project, you paid this amount for it, you finished it on such and such a date. The impact that has is on the direct administrative costs that the city would receive back. 5% is the max allowable. They'll give you 4%, but to get the other 1%, you have to guarantee that you'll have all these projects, the paperwork done and submitted to the state within 6 months of the finish of any individual large project, which is over $100,000, or the completion of the last of your small projects. And so thus far, we've been able to send in the documentation on 15 of those. And the rest of them, as soon as we get them, we'll continue to do that, because we want you to be able to get back every dollar you can possibly get. That's what we do. That's what we're proud of being able to help y'all do. That pretty well concludes mine on the public assistance. Pam now is going to address the mitigation side.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mine's gonna be a lot shorter than Benny's, but, and I'm not gonna say how wonderful everybody is, because everybody's wonderful, but we've heard that already, so I won't repeat all that for time. So the mitigation project that Eric mentioned earlier was the pumps and generators. And that grant was prepared through the Hazard Mitigation Technical Assistance Program. And once the request for information came back and they needed different information, we had a task force already in place, so we helped and worked with Fernando to get an approved budget. To get an approved budget and redo the scope of work to make sure it was ready for FEMA to approve. When I talked to our mitigation expert in our office, FEMA's gonna approve that. I know he said by September, but it'll be sooner than that. Any day we'll get that approved. Under our current task order, we'll be able to manage that grant money alongside Gary and Sandra. So that will be done way before September, so.
Thank you.
Great. That's all I have.
All right. Awesome.
In summary, and in closing, just want to review our, get the next slide, the next steps. So we're currently operating under task order number 3. We have a master contract with you, and then our contract doesn't specify any particular dollar amount or time. It's more open-ended. And then all the work we do for you is specified in a task order, so we can be very precise about what we do and how much we spend and how long we're engaged. the current task order expired December 31st, 2019. So we've been working at risk for these last couple of weeks, and we're happy to do so. We know you guys are good for it, good to work with. What we're going to ask Gary to prepare would be an extended task order through the end of 2020. Now, we're not asking for any more dollars associated with it. The task order that expired last year was for $250,000. To date, we've only drawn about 36% of that last year. So we anticipated that our fees would go down and the rates would go down, or the amount of hours go down when you get to this phase in the project. That's typically what happens. There's $169,471 and change remaining, and we think that's more than enough to get us through the next year. So instead of asking for any more in that, and to be clear, so you know, the direct administrative cost that Benny mentioned that's added onto the project, that's what pays our fees, not your general funds. It comes out of the FEMA money. But you still have to account for it, and you still have to make sure you're within that threshold of 4% plus 1 or 5% if you go that way. So we would ask that you, at a future council meeting in the near future, extend that task order through December 31st, 20 in the amount of $169,471.15. And the only thing I'll add to conclude is that the money that Benny mentioned, the direct administrative costs that will come back to you when all these projects are finished, will far exceed our billing. So you will have money in a fund that will come to you from FEMA through the state that you can spend. It's not general funds. There's restricted funds. There's only certain things they can be spent for, but things like emergency management training for your fire and police force, certain types of equipment that are used in disasters, those are all eligible to be used with this leftover money. And I always hate to put a number on this, but I think it'll be a couple $100,000 at least that you'll have there. So you don't start counting it yet, but by the
Start spending.
don't start spending it yet, right? By the end of this fiscal year, by September next year, we'll have a better idea what that final number will be, and we'll make sure that you understand all of the restrictions that come with it, so you can spend it wisely. There is some time restrictions on spending. You have to spend it in so many months, and usually folks have no trouble doing that. But thank you again for your business. We appreciate working for you. You always know you can reach us if you have questions about our work for you, about the work with FEMA and with the Texas Division of Emergency Management, and we look forward to a bright and profitable 2020. And thanks again to your staff and the council for giving us this time. Do you have any questions before I leave?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
That's a very
much.
positive outlook.
Yes.
Thank
You're very
you.
welcome. Well,
Thank you.
I'm doing the same presentation in Abilene, Texas tomorrow at noon, so that means I've got about 500 miles to drive, starting.
Yeah.
Oh, but you're gonna
Tonight,
say that
right.
they're the best
Yeah,
community
right.
you worked with?
So I'm gonna pedal my way up across the state. Thank you very much.
Great.
Be safe.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you
Thank you.
guys, appreciate it. That's a long ways.
Now we're going to go to the presentation by Spirit of Aransas Pass.
Stephanie?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Gary, and the city staff. Hey, there's Liz.
There's trouble.
We're here tonight to do the presentation to our police and fire departments through Bacon Fest this year. And Bacon Fest wouldn't be such a success if it wasn't for a great community in which we live. We have a lot of great on-site volunteers. We have a lot of great businesses that everyone volunteers. We've got a lot of great people that make Bacon Fest what it is. And with me tonight is Stephanie and Liz, okay? And they're there all the time for just about all of our events. As everyone knows, we have quite a few events, the Spirit of Aransas Pass. So I just wanted to say a special thanks to our total community for their participation in what goes on in our community. And it's not only Spirit of Aransas Pass. We're very proud of everyone here. Everyone has a something they work on, and the support in our community to help each other is really exciting in these times. After the hurricane, we all know, we took really a big hit. Every event that we did, even from Shrimpboree to every single event, took a big hit after the storm. But we're coming back. We're very proud we're coming back. And tonight it does us a great pleasure to present to the chief, to the city, to the fire chief. We have a check here for $8,800. We can get you all come up for the picture.
Mikey, I call first dibs for the police department on this one.
Actually, there is a list here of what they wanted to donate to, and to let everybody know, there is a second letter going out the 1st of February just to the businesses in Aransas Pass to ask for continued to support. So we're working on that right now. Nathan?
You got it? Okay.
Nathan,
There's a check.
this has to go to Sandra.
That's the real one.
Yeah. And it's got a list of what everybody donated.
Come on, Happy.
for.
Can Lynn send me the copy?
If he puts it against him, that's one of the erasables. It's gonna go away.
Okay, now we go to the consent agenda. All of the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of this item unless a council member so requests. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the December 16th, 2019 meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now we're gonna go into executive session, section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meeting Act, to meet with his attorney to seek legal advice on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the city council under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meeting Act relating to Viva Texas Cruises. And we shall return at some point.
Time.
The time is 6:27.
serious.
Already?
We're ready.
We're going to reconvene an open session at 6:47 to consider and take action, if any, on any item discussed in executive session.
No action necessary. We'll proceed with the agenda. You can proceed on to 7.2.
Okay. I didn't hear where she said.
She said you can proceed on 7.
Yes, we're going to open public hearing, case number 2001-02, public hearing on an amendment to zoning ordinance part 3, section 11, CA Central Area District Residential Uses 209, maximum floor area ratio by adding, dedicate a minimum of 30% of the interior frontage area of each building, first floor, for commercial and retail purpose.
Yes, this is a text amendment to the zoning ordinance. It came up from one of the P&Z board members, and what he suggested is that there is some sort of more of residential development going downtown, that is the Central Area District, and therefore it might affect the space needed for residential and retail purposes. Because of that, we had discussions with staff and commission members, and the conclusion was that 30% of every building downtown should be dedicated to retail as well as commercial, so that it can maintain that level of space for the core value of commercial purpose in downtown. So in so doing, we did a text amendment that will dedicate a minimum of 30% of interior frontage area of each building, and on the first floor only, for commercial and retail purposes. So the commission on the 13th of this January, that was last week, voted to recommend that it should be approved by the council. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and Council, there's also someone in the audience who is requesting a possible exception because of work that started already. Mr. Green, yes.
Hello, I'm Green with Hill Premier Homes. Prior to purchasing these buildings downtown, we called and spoke to one of the city planners, and previously it had availability for apartments to be made, so we closed probably in July, and we started hearing word in August that that it was going to change. So that's how we came to planning and zoning probably in, I think, December, and started to speak to them about that. But we did our due diligence before purchasing the building, and apartments were available before that. It wasn't until recently that we came into the disagreement, I guess you could say, with having to do the 30 and 70% split.
Any comments from the public? Any other comments?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, you're not opposed to the 30%, it's just that your particular instance, is that correct?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
I'm in agreement with the 30-70, but I was just saying that when we first purchased it, apartments were able to be done in the whole entire building. And we also had the parking needed, and pretty much everything that we were gonna do is, after looking at y'all's comprehensive plan, it pretty much fits in with fixing up downtown and bringing a vibrant energy to the downtown area.
And your location is the one close by Discount Auto, is that?
No, that's, well, we're doing that one right now, but the particular property that we're talking about is where the Mattress Firm used to be.
Okay.
And then the empty building right next to it. And, I mean, that property sat on the market probably for over a year before we purchased it.
Okay.
And as you know, the property right next to the Dream Teams, that property has been vacant for years.
For years, that's
Mhm.
true. Okay, so that's the location right there?
Yes, ma'am, those
Okay.
two buildings, correct.
Okay.
So you want to put strictly the apartments there without the retail space? Because that's what you bought it for, is that, am I hearing that?
Yes, that's what it was zoned
Okay.
for. We could have done that, but we've come to agreements that we're okay with the 70-30 split that we spoke
All
with
those
the planning zoning,
properties.
correct.
Thank you.
I'm okay.
Good. I'm okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, then. Any other comments? Questions? Okay, I declare this public hearing closed. And I will go to consider an act on ordinance number 2020-4263, amending the zone ordinance part 3, section 1 CA Central Area District Residential Uses 209 maximum floor area ratio by adding dedicate a minimum of 30% of interior frontage area of each building first floor to commercial and retail purpose. Says. Favor of the council?
Well, I make a motion, we approve ordinance number 2020-4283.
Second?
Any exceptions? Any exceptions?
With the
Yes.
70-30, the
Well,
previous,
no,
for the previous
the one,
apartment.
the one party.
Yeah, for the one party, for the,
Yes.
how do I word that one, Roxanne? Roxanne, for Mr. Green's project, because he bought it beforehand, I want to include that in the motion.
You would just accept the particular property description.
Okay.
Like property description.
Good.
Do you have? Does he have to state that in his motion?
Do we need the property description right now, or can we say
At
Mr.
least
Green's
it's the
property?
legal address. Where is the property owner?
Bill's property.
416-418 South Commercial.
416-418.
Okay. 416-418 South Commercial Street.
Without exception? is that
Without,
right? That's the exception.
that's the
right there.
exception, okay.
Yeah.
We got it, I think we got it now. Thank you for your patience.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna go to 7-2. Case number 2001-03, and is to open public hearing to request by Viva Texas Cruises to rezone property with legal description being Lot 3-R and 4-R, Parrot Island Addition, City of Aransas Pass, a map of which is recorded in volume 67, page 407, map records of Nueces County, Texas, from AG Agricultural District to A3 Apartment Dwelling District.
Yes, as you all know, Mr. Conde is a regular developer within the area, and he's been with the city trying to develop so many projects since 2014, but so far the projects have not come to fruition. He's now trying to come up with another project which will establish or construct a 5-story apartment unit complex at the Parrot Island, and he's proposing that because currently the zoning is AG agricultural, he wants to rezone it to A3 apartment dwelling district, which will allow him to put up those condos. Last week, the Planning and Zoning Commission met on this case and recommended approval for this project. Mr. Conde and his architect and engineer, they are here to give their side of the story. Thank you.
My name is Murph Hudson. I'm with Urban Engineering out of Corpus Christi. Mr. Leo Guzman is our project architect, is handing out the materials for your information. Also with our team here, we have Mr. Vidal Conde, who's the developer and owner of the property. We have former state representative Raul Torres, the CPA on the project. And we have Mr. Alex Hernandez, who's the attorney on the project that will keep us all on the straight and narrow. As the engineer in the group, we're responsible for the civil engineering part of this, which includes the zoning and the platting and the civil portion of the project. And so I just want to present the basics of the zoning case and why we think the zoning is appropriate for this particular piece of property. With that, I direct your attention to the second page of the pamphlet, the aerial photograph that is there. On that page, you will see item number 2 on that page is the property owned by the applicant, and that's where the condo project is proposed to go. To our north, on property that's identified as number 1, is the current mansions, the wedding venue project, and their parking lot. And that property is currently under the future land use is shown to be commercial, and it's obviously currently being used as commercial. It is a commercial property. Our site, property number 2, under the future land use plan is shown to be single-family residential. The property number 3, the Redfish Enterprises, that currently is a mitigation project for wetlands and therefore would be precluded from development in the future. And then property number 4 in this view is the commercial project that was the former cruise ship or I can't remember what the name of the company was, but anyway, is obviously being used for commercial purposes as well. The reason we think that our zoning case makes sense and is a proper use of the property is that property number 1 is currently used commercial. Its future land use is commercial. Our property is future land use is indicated to be single family. Typically, you do not want single family next to commercial property. Usually you want to step down in zoning. You want commercial property, and then you want multifamily property, and then you want residential property. So that's why we think in our case it makes sense that the mansions is a commercial property. It's shown to be that way in the future land use map. We think it's appropriate that our property be zoned apartment housing 3, which is its designation. And we want to develop it into a 40-unit condo complex. And then the property adjacent to us is the mitigation project, which precludes it from any future development. And then there is the existing commercial property, and then there's residential property to the south of that. So we think our zoning application makes sense for the use of the property. On page 3 of this, there's a fold out there that shows a vision of what our project would look like. If you start at the far north end, you've got the South Bay Fishing Charters. That's a bait shop and fishing charter station that is currently a commercial property. The next property was previously used as a Marcel oil tanker dock. I'm not sure what its use is right now. And then you have the Mansions by the Sea project, which is the existing commercial use property. Then you have our project, the 40-unit condo unit, and a vision of what that would be, and then it shows the 400-foot of mitigation canal next to that. Sheet 4 in here is just a linear view of that same type of information. Has a little bit more to the south where it talks about the Aransas Queen casino ship. That's the one I couldn't think of the name of. And then you get down to the single-family residential projects, which are several hundred feet south of us, and the Dennis Dilley residence. Sheet 5 is the future land use map. All this property is currently zoned agricultural, but the future land use map or the comprehensive plan indicates that the mansions is to be commercial in the future, and then our property it shows to be single single family. And that's why we're asking that we have that step down in zoning from the commercial to a multifamily, then to single family, which will be far down the line from us. Also in here on page 7 is a corporate formation documents. And on sheet 8 is a current valuation of the property from, and Mr. Conde does own all the property currently in whole and is current on all taxes on the property. And then there's some financial documents and a warranty deed in here that's just for your information. And I will let Mr. Guzman present some particulars about the project.
Leo Guzman, architect, and we're planning on a 40 unit condominium project that a substantial structure, concrete, meeting all the codes, windstorm and whatnot. We're meeting all the parking and the safety requirements that'll go with a substantial building like this. So we're tasked with doing a safe and attractive project that will be a benefit to the city.
I'd also add to that a little bit of timeline here. Mr. Conde has been working on this project since 2014. In 2016, he was issued a welcome letter by the city of Aransas Pass. Subsequent to that, he pursued core permits to bulkhead the property and to be able to build the condo unit. He has acquired those core permits at this time. And so now it's the natural next step. We came to the city thinking we were going to be able to get a building permit, just as all the other properties up and down that stretch of land have done. And we're informed that we had to do this rezoning, so that's why we're here tonight, is to do this rezoning to get that next step done. After this step, then we actually go into, assuming we're successful here, we'll go into building permit phase and development of the plans. Mr. Conde's hired urban engineering to get us this far, and has already hired his architect to get the plans that you see before you started. And so we're well on our way to making this project a reality.
Thank you. Any comments from the public? Anybody else? Okay, well, I declare the public hearing closed at 7:05. And now we're gonna go to consider an act on ordinance number 2020-4284, approving request by Viva Texas Cruises to rezone property with legal description being lot 3-R and 4-R, Parrot Island Addition, City of Aransas Pass, a map of which is recorded in volume 67, page 407, map records of Nueces County, Texas, from AG Agricultural District for A3 Apartment Dwelling District. Favor of the council.
I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2020-4284, changing the request by Viva Texas Cruises to rezone property with legal description from AG to A3.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're going to go to the city manager, and it's to consider an act on approving an amendment to the Con Brown Harbor lease with Aransas Marine Waste to correct the legal description to 10.149 acres of leased land, or a total of 442,090 square feet out of the northerly end of Con Brown Harbor lots 1 through 20, Block 3, Section 10, for a total linear footage of 1,597.37 feet.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor and the City Council. That's the description after working with the surveyor, and that's the linear footage. There was some concern by the leasee about the footage originally, but he is accepting of this and is willing to go with the numbers that you have before you. And I want to thank the mayor and also Chuck for going out and doing some measuring also. We also went to the surveyor to get the distance, and it was very helpful in both cases. So that's the correct number. And again, the leasee is accepting of that number if you are in agreement to this proposed amendment.
I make a motion that we approve the amendment to Con Brown Harbor lease with Aransas Marine Ways to correct the legal description.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Where is he at? Okay, now we're gonna go to consider an act on approving task order 15 with LNV Engineering for the design and construction management of the Con Brown Harbor bulkhead not to exceed $320,000.
Mr. Mayor and Council, may call Fernando up in just a second, but this is an issue that is going to be a complex issue, very expensive issue, over $3 million is the estimate on this. And in talking with LNV today, and that's the reason for the 320, basically, because of the price, the anticipated price of this particular project. And talking with LNV today, their fee is approximately 8%. Surveying is going to be about 15%. It averages out to about 12%. And that's the number that you see before you, that $320,000. And talking with the LNV today. And again, the reason it's expensive is that this is going to be an expensive project. And it's the repair to the bulkhead is just repairs related to the hurricane. And Fernando went out with FEMA and LNV and determined where that damage was, hurricane damage was in the bulkhead. And that has been determined. And Fernando, anything you want to add to any of that?
Okay, you just got one question. Are they
Please.
going to be better than what they did at Pelican Cove over that one patch over this whole job? I'm just asking. They could barely do that one, much less this one.
As
You-
Gary mentioned, this is a FEMA project, so FEMA only covered percentages of the bulkhead that were damaged by the hurricane, and we identified it was about $3 million sections of it. Most of it's on the west side, starting from where the Harbor Master building is going to be relocated down that way, and then a couple of sections down the other side of the harbor. This is covered 90% by FEMA, and we're still on the 10% end of it on our own.
Raised some good points, Mayor.
I'm just curious,
Yeah.
because this is the bigger job than just the one they had right there at Pelican Cove. And the one at Pelican Cove was really disturbing. I'm just saying.
Yep.
This is a lot bigger job.
Disturbing in what way?
Well, it wasn't done properly, and it took, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, you need to tell them what was done incorrectly.
What was disturbing about it?
That we had a very small job of trying to redo the bulkhead over at Pelican Cove, and it was probably a 10-foot section that needed to be replaced, and it turned into a lot of work orders, a lot of change orders.
A lot of change orders.
A lot of change orders. And, yeah, I'm just saying, that was a very small project. Eventually it got done. They resolved whatever needed to be resolved or whatever, but we just need to make sure that when they do this job, they literally go out there and they really look at it. They don't take somebody else's word for what they saw. You know, that's your job for you to get off the back of your desk, to get out there and really look at the whole job. Don't come back and be looking at somebody else. Oh, they wrote it. I just went by what they said, and that's not going to work on this one. They really need to get out there and really do the assessment and make sure that whatever they come back with, it's a true script of the work performed, that's going to be performed, and really, really minimize the change orders because we didn't go out there and look.
There won't be
I
any-
think you
yeah.
need to make it with no change orders. I
Yeah.
mean, we've had too
And
many
especially 'cause
problems
it's a
with
FEMA
that.
project too, so
And
it's
we-
gonna
Exactly.
be more.
And we talking about the change orders when the actual work comes out and gets bidded to where they actually do the work, that we don't come back because we kind of didn't see that.
Exactly, and that's happened.
Yep.
Yeah, no change order, no additional orders.
It's
The completion of the job.
It's a very long,
Yeah.
important project, especially in the area.
Yes.
Very,
We really need to get out from behind the desk and really look at it.
We're sorry, Fernando, but you know how
I
passionate
know, this was a
we
big
are
project
about
for us,
You know
especially
what we
when,
went through
Yeah, I was,
with
We
I
have
was
all
looking for,
the-
I was looking for Eric, but I didn't see him.
you know, and because we have the roadway project too, is gonna come beautify the
Oh,
harbor.
not
and
you.
We wanna make sure that,
You're in the clear.
Right, right,
Okay.
this time.
Okay.
Favor of the council?
I make a motion that we approve task order 15 with L&V Engineering for the design and construction management of Con Brown Harbor bulkhead not to exceed $320,000 as far as the city goes. There will be no change orders, and there will be no additional projects added to this original contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna go to the monthly municipal court report.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Our activity report for December, it was a very slow month. Cases filed 88, convictions filed 61, magistrations 18, no cases pro fines were filed. Class C warrants issued were 69, CID warrants signed 15, walk-ins, we had approximately about 84 because of the holidays. And then one emergency protective order was issued. We're still having our walk-in dockets, show cause hearings, and juvenile hearings. They're being held every Wednesday. Pre-trials were held, bench trials were held. I also would like to add that the municipal court will be moving to the Civic Center. We're going to well, they have graciously accommodated us, and we also will be holding court there if there's a room available. And we also have the court of the Justice of the Peace, Judge Price, has also offered for us to use her court if for some reason we can't be accommodated there at the Civic Center, because they have spaces rented, so we have a backup plan for that. Our OCA report, if you turn to page, I also would like to add about the moving. We have it announced in our website. We're going to be moving Thursday and Friday, and arrangements have been made to change our, or move our computers, our files, everything over there. And the filing cabinets that don't fit, Captain Pierce will also help us in finding a place to accommodate them, but we have to take them out of there. We have announcements in our office, in our courtroom, like I said, and also in our website. On our OCA report on page 6, the total amount collected for the month of December is $16,558.48. The city keeps $10,728.12, and $5,830.36. That goes to the state. Any questions?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Henry. Now we're gonna go to community enrichment, and it's the monthly community enrichment department report for December 2019.
I think I'm going to be doing this. Sarah had a MDD meeting tonight. Want to run through this quickly, just a couple of slides from, as far as the update goes. Hosted a total of 2 private events, 1 public event, a church service, 1 corporate training event, and 5 days of miscellaneous training. And importantly, a pre-construction meeting for HVAC, electrical, and audiovisual was held with L&V, city staff, and Scott Electric. The start date for this project, January 21st. I know you're glad to hear that.
That's today.
Yes. The slide tower project was completed as far as the aquatic center in November, and the actual slides will be repaired in February. The final pump repair that was pending from Harvey was completed, and irrigation system was serviced, and minor repairs were done. New grass was planted. Library. 1807 library visits in December. 99 reserved a librarian users. 512 internet users and 177 Wi-Fi, and 599 reference transactions, and seasonal activities, always changing, can be found on the library's newsletter on our website. And you are encouraged to stop by for a visit. And that's all of the enrichment services that I have for you. It was very enriching, yes.
Any questions from anybody? Everybody good?
No, sir.
Okay, we're gonna go to Development Services. Monthly Building Department Report. Mr. Burrow. Aye.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Not sure why I'm looking at the building department stuff. but
That's what's on there.
Doing that to confuse you, Burrow.
I can do theirs.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what's,
That's what's there.
that's what's there.
Let me go another one.
Yeah, well, let's do the
Maybe they got 'em.
utility, maybe.
No,
I think it's double.
I think.
It was doubled when I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can make copies and give this.
Okay.
I've got 2 reports, actually.
Yeah.
The first one that I kind of wanted to go over is a comparison. It's the year-end report for the entire year. But I also compared it to the last year's. Now, let's see if she can see. There it is.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
I went ahead and compared, I did this year's report and compared to 2018, which is right directly after the storm, we're down a little bit. As far as what we had in 2018, we had 1,659 permits total. This year, we're at 1,284. That's from January 1st to December 31st, so it's a little bit different way of reporting it instead of going from October to October. Our fees are within about $50,000. What's interesting about this to me is, I was told when I first came here that, okay, we're gonna be recovering from the hurricane, and then it's gonna take a really sharp dive as far as new builds. That's not the case. We're holding our own here, and it's what I've been saying all along. We're growing, we're holding our own. From one year to the next, it's kind of hard to relate our building department fees to that, but when you actually get out and about and see what's starting to come online, it's starting to become apparent where our efforts have been and that we are moving forward. So I just wanted to have that there for you, and if you have any questions for that, I'm here to answer those. We did have a couple, and I don't think Roxanne even knows this. Late this afternoon, I had a couple of permits come in for new homes, and so I'm going to be adding 2 more demos to that. So
Oh, awesome.
don't ask me where it is, because I don't remember what I saw, but I went through it. And this month, we've got 111 permits issued. I'm going to the next ones.
I just have.
It's pretty much the same that I've been reporting each month. This month, we had $85,000 in permit fees. That was, I'm speculating, I can't remember from one day to the next whose permits I've gotten out the door, but it was either the credit union or the apartments. was the big ones on that. Compared to 2018, if you went month, December to December, we're way ahead. We had 13,000 last year at this time, and this year we're at 85,000 for this month. So it's kind of, you really have to look at apples to apples, you know, if we are growing and in the things that we're trying to do to attract people to come to our town. Any questions? And we did have, by the way, we did have our demolition meeting today, and we had 18, I believe, in there. So we're staying busy. 18 people, not demos, but 18 people that we're working on currently.
Cool. Even Daniel Jimenez has made another improvement.
Yes.
And stay tuned for Hong Kong. It's almost a resolution. With that said, I just want to thank Burl and his staff. Not only are they dealing with the building permits, they're dealing with your city attorney on demolitions and the due process that requires. It is demanding. It is highly intensive. And him and his staff are keeping up with me, and I think they're valuable, and I truly appreciate their kindness and their openness to handling our direction. It is clearly making a difference in our community if you drive up and down our streets.
Thank you.
Just got lost. This side. Okay. Now we're gonna go to the monthly Public Works report.
Evening, Council. Before you have the reports from Public Works on utilities and streets, start off with utilities. Most of our focus was on leaks. We had 16 this past month in December, with one of them being the one on Yoakum, which was one of our major ones. That's the main line that comes out of the Avenue A tank. So it was tricky because the only way to shut that water off was to actually close the tank off. The other issue there is that previously it was fixed with pouring 3 foot of concrete completely over it. So our guys had to go through and carefully remove all that concrete so they wouldn't cause any more damage to the water line. Luckily, after all that was done, a simple clamp is all they needed. If they would have done that the first time, it would have been a lot easier, but it took us a while to get the stuff we needed to get to the concrete. And luckily, we were able to do it without having to shut off water to the entire city. We were able to shut off the tank, but still maintain water through the other systems. So I applaud the staff for being able to maintain water throughout the city, was having to shut off one of the main tanks. And then once they had the parts in, it was pretty simple fix and repair, but it took a while. It happened right after Christmas break in between New Year's, so it was hard to get to during the holidays, but they managed. In the street department, they focused a little bit more on potholes this month and working on curb and gutter cleaning. If you have not heard or seen, we got our new sweeper in. So we had training last week. I know Ms. Vicky ran into us when we were out on DeBerry testing it out. So now you'll start seeing them more frequently coming out and doing our curb and gutters. We're gonna try to work out a schedule so that it doesn't interfere too much with day-to-day stuff. We plan to do it during the day on the main streets and do night shifts for the downtown area where there's no traffic there, because that's the area that all the cars park during the day. The residential areas, most of the cars are gone during the day, so we want to hit them during the daytime. So we're working on schedules and making sure everybody's trained properly so that we can get it out there. If anybody wishes to take a ride on the sweeper and see how it operates, let me know and I can coordinate that. So you'll be surprised how much dirt we picked up off of DeBerry, just the trials we did. On major projects going on, we're starting off the year strong. We got a lot of projects kicking off. Like Sarah Lee mentioned in her presentation, the Civic Center HVAC, audio, and visual are kicked off this month, or this week. So that's ongoing. We're kicking off Monday here with the EOC hardening project. And then we're also kicking off the City Hall roof project at the same time. So those two will be kicking off Monday. Monday, we're also starting to energize our elevated tank and filling it up. I have a coordination meeting tomorrow with a contractor and engineer to coordinate the switchover. And hopefully within 2 days, we'll be back on gravity fed, provided all our sampling comes back clean. Harbor Park, the electrical has been awarded, so we'll be kicking it off here at the beginning of February. The Canberra Harbor Road project, we have a workshop next week to present the project. And then with y'all's permission, we'll start going out for bids and get that project construction going as well.
Do you know when the lights are gonna come on at the pier?
That's part of this project. We will have to close the pier down for a couple of days while they do all the electrical work, because we don't want people going in and out while there's live wires or open wires there. So we'll coordinate that with Chuck and push it out so that people are aware that it will be closed for, I'm assuming 2-3 days tops, just to do the repairs there.
Are you gonna have to close the ramps also at that point?
No, this is
Oh,
only
okay.
gonna affect
Just
the fishing pier.
Okay,
Yeah.
just the pier.
Um,
Yeah.
As H2O mentioned this earlier today about the backup generator systems, actually have an update. We did get everything into them, and they're hoping to award the funds to us the end of this month or beginning of February. So the project's been approved, and we're getting funded for it. So next step would be to get design and proposals in to get going on those generators. Trying to think. Drainage study, we're at the pretty much final phase of it. We're closing it out. We will be meeting at the end of next week to get an update and then bring it to council next month for a presentation on findings. And the engineers have prepared projects with estimates on what they feel will benefit the city to help improve our drainage. So that's coming the beginning part of February. The safe routes to schools, we should be hearing, I'm hoping by the end of this month, if we got awarded that project to continue our sidewalk. And then other grants that we're pursuing with CDBG, DR projects, we submitted 13. The income studies came back already from the engineers. We had to be at minimum 50% to qualify for the project. Out of the 13, 11 of those qualified. The other 2 fall in the category of the 25% that don't have to be LMI qualified. So if all plans well, all 13 projects hopefully will get awarded. We're waiting to hear back. There's still some RFIs out there, and then hopefully they get approved and we get more projects coming our way. Any questions?
I have a question, just an update on the lights downtown. How is that coming?
I know they started, I went by there last night to look at them, and there's 7 that are out. He started getting I forgot what they called, some box that he needed on them. He started putting those in. They got the pole in for the one that's broken by the dealership, so that needs to get installed. The one by the old bank, there's some wires that the electrician believes are clipped in the ground, so we have to dig that up, and he needs to reconnect it. That should solve the problem on that section. The other ones, he's still installing those devices on them, but he has received them, so I'm hoping.
You have like a time frame by the?
I can check and I can send you something tomorrow.
If you don't mind, because I know
Yes.
those have been out for a long time.
Yes, and like I said, I went out there yesterday, and I know he's down to 7 that are out right now, because I drove it last night. So I'll get an update and email the council on that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're gonna go to finance, and is consider an act on resolution number 2020-935, renewing the City of Aransas Pass investment policy.
Hi, good evening. Before you is our current investment policy. We are required to bring this up to you guys every year, once a year at the beginning of the year. Pretty much we haven't changed anything. I know that last year I had tried for you all to allow letters of credit as collateral, but you all turned that down, and that isn't in the policy this time around either. I think that you all felt very strongly against that, so I didn't try to put that back in there. So it's basically the same policy that we currently have. I just need you to approve that. It also stipulates where we're gonna be doing our training, and you are designating TML to do the training. We are required to do training every 2 years for the Public Fund Investment Act. So this is just a little housekeeping. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Favor of the council?
Make a motion that we approve resolution number 2020-935, renewing the City of Aransas Pass investment policy.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna go to the monthly finance department report.
Okay, that's me also. If you can go down to the graph, I think the graph works better. The other page. There we go. Okay, that's the revenue graph. As you can see, our budgeted is in the blue. Our actual revenues are the white dots with the red line connecting. And you can see that our revenues surpassed our budgeted amounts for the month. So that's always good. You know, we're not in the blue area, we're above the blue block, so we're surpassing, obviously, the revenue for the Aquatic Center, Civic Center, and the Hotel Motel is just because they pay quarterly, so that you're not gonna see any revenue as of right now. But the Aquatic Center and the Civic, the Aquatic Center is not open, so there's no revenue. We are gonna start seeing some minor movement there, people booking parties already for the summertime. So we are gonna start showing a little bit of that revenue coming forward. The Civic Center has had some events, but nothing they haven't taken off at 100% yet. And as you'll see the expenditures, which is the other slide, that one also is a good slide because the blue is the budgeted, the red dot is where we are actually, so we're within the budgeted amount. We've spent less than what we budgeted, so that's always a good place to be every month. The next one is your property tax collected. And you'll see that we've collected 2.4 million this year compared to last year. At this same time, we've had collected 2 million respectively for the prior 2 years. Our collection rate, which is the following slide, you'll see there where we are in collections. In 2018, we had collected 49% of our money. In 2019, at this point in time, we had collected 44%, and in 2020, we've collected 47.46% of our tax levies year to date. Now we have the sales tax. This is a beautiful graph. I like it. You'll see year to date, we're holding steady to our growth. You know, the 2018 year is the one that has the anomaly with the storm and everything, and we're just $10,000 behind that. So that's a good place to be. Yes.
Very good.
And then you'll see collectively as a whole, the next slide, Gary, please. You'll see as a whole, all three, the two pennies, the MDD, the crime board, and us together year to date, what they've collected respectively. Any questions on that?
How come the crime board has more money than the MDD?
It's the jurisdiction. They
Okay.
have a jurisdiction of where they're gonna be collecting,
Okay.
and they don't match up the same, but that's
Okay.
why.
Cool.
Take care of the goods.
Any other questions?
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes.
I just want to tell Sandra, thank you so much. Her and her staff are so dedicated. Their work and the fact that we have H2O people that work around the nation coming and saying this is the greatest place they've worked in, who knows if they really mean it, but we know they mean it because we've got Sandra.
We
you know?
need them.
So thank you so much, Sandra, for
you.
your dedication, your hard work, your strive for excellence, and your continually great graphs.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's
Take a
go
bow.
to fiscal year 2019-2020 first quarter investment report.
Okay, this is mine. This is the last one, I promise. Okay, overall, for the quarter, we had $7.6 million to invest. 4.07% of that money was at Prosperity Bank. 53.68% of that was at tax pool, and 39.28% was at Texas Class. The money at Texas Class, that's our bond money. That's money that's earmarked, reserved for just special stuff, for the projects. Overall, we earned interest in the amount of $28,000. Our return on investment was 1.54%. Our benchmark was 1.61%. Obviously, we unfortunately did not hit the benchmark this quarter, but we're getting closer. We've earned interest at Prosperity. The way it breaks down is $570 at Prosperity, $13,409 in Tex Pool, and $14,048 at Texas Class. We are more than sufficiently collateralized at the bank, so I don't foresee that to be a problem for us anytime in the near future. If you have any questions, that's my report. No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.
Now we're going to go to public safety, and it's to consider and act on issuance of requests for proposals for the dispatch facility remodel project.
Mayor and Council, this is a project that we've been working on for some time. Due to budget restraints, storms, it's all been put off, but think we're at a point now, thanks to the Crime Board especially, for funding this project for us. It's very needed. If you've never been in our dispatch, it's a very small area, but it's the heart of our operations over there. It was originally, in my opinion, not built correct to start with. Those poor dispatchers are working off a counter height desk that they have to tie. What we want to do is, it's not really any change to the structure other than we're going to seal off one door. We're going to rip out all those old cabinet type things, clean it up, paint it, and come back with modern ergonomic desks that will rise and lower to the height of the dispatchers. They can also choose to stand. It'll raise up high enough that they can stand. We're hoping with the cleaning out and just getting rid of that old solid furniture that we're able to add a third dispatch, so that would give us the potential to have three dispatchers working all at the same time. And it's just a request of you to let us go out for requests for proposals on this.
We make a motion that we approve the request for proposals for the dispatch facility remodel project.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're going to go to monthly public safety report. Mr. Eric.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. And I'm going to have to get right after I give you this, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. Okay, this report is for the month of December. We had, of course, that pedestrian versus truck fatal crash that patrol worked. We didn't release any information on that because there's no criminal wrongdoing, and we're protecting the privacy of the people that were involved. We got our patrol drone and began using that. At that time, we'd only used it for a fire, and it's pretty cool. It shows you live time what like the field, like you're looking at this room, but then you also see the overlay of like infrared that shows you where the hot spots are for a fire. It also shows us where hot spots are for hiding criminals. Nice. So, and we did recently use it in a burglary spree that some guys were going on with a stolen cart from the high school. They actually were concealing some of their stolen goods in ditches off sandy alleys and stuff. So we were able to recover quite a bit of stolen property that way. So it's been very helpful so far. Emergency management, just downtime right now for Lynn, mostly just training and planning. We had a good investigation, a strangulation case, which was a pretty intense strangulation case. The guy fled the state and was caught by the marshals when we solicited their assistance. So U.S. Marshals caught him. We had a female that was sentenced to 10 years for selling drugs in town. And then from an admin level, I'm just basically working on evaluating pay and stuff like that. If you would believe it, we now have kind of dropped down to amongst the lowest paid in law enforcement, but yet we provide the best service, in my opinion. And I think I can prove that with my staff. We've got a wonderful staff that work for us here. So I'm looking at some options and stuff like that, especially with the crime board, hopeful that we'll have a solution there to be a little more competitive. But you have all those stats there. Again, we do the monthly surveys to the public, and 11 people rated us, our service, 10 out of 10. So it was actually a good month on reviews, nothing that we had to follow up in-depthly on. This is already published online for anybody that would like to review it. And I did tell you I have to leave. I got some bad news. We had a body that was dumped inside of a chest or something like that on the side of the road that the guys are out working on. So I'm going to head over there and see if there's anything that I can help. Probably not. I think they got it under control, but we would like to get that investigation well underway. So,
Mayor, if I just may make a quick comment to the chief. Chief, I was listening to some 911 calls today as I was preparing for a jury trial on an assault case. And your dispatchers did such an excellent job in asking the questions they needed to ask that it was exactly what I needed so that I can prove my case. So thank you to your dispatchers. They did great work.
I will share that. It's great to hear. Thank you.
And it's someone who's dangerous that needs to be convicted, so thank you.
Good deal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna go to the monthly and annual fire department report.
All right, only my turn. And I don't have a mic to knock off, so that's always good. So December, pretty busy month. That's usually we slow down on training, we slow down on inspections, but we go up in calls. We ran 75 calls for the month of December. And interesting, what we saw went up, of course, is fires, fireworks, that kind of stuff, especially with our responses going into the area between us and Rockport. 13 inspections. I gotta say that with all the new construction that Nate has really been on it. He's really been busy with a lot of new inspections to the point that each one of our captains are also inspectors, that we've had to pick up on the captains now going out and doing inspections for us. So I'm hoping to see those numbers rise as well. I think my hours, 92.5 hours of personnel hours trained last month for December. So looking at our annual stats, I was actually surprised but not completely surprised to see what came up. But our total call count for last year was 778. It was a 38% increase from the previous year.
I have a question. Does that have a lot to do with the area that we have annexed?
I would say some of it does,
Okay.
To put that in perspective for you, in 2017, the year of the hurricane, we ran 773 calls. We ran more calls last year than we did the year of the hurricane. We're working. In 2018, we ran 563 calls. So we've seen a huge increase in the call volume that we run on. One of the things that when I came here was to get my guys more active in the community, CPR, adult education, school education, which we have increased. So everything that we're doing is moving forward, but the workload is increasing on top of us. Total hours of training, and this will not include everything that me and Nate go to. Almost 1,600 hours of training my guys did last year. A lot of that's in-house, a lot of that's going out for schools, that kind of stuff. On inspections, total inspections were 179. And I would say that a lot of that is new construction stuff that Nate's been doing. He's been doing a lot of that stuff. And I've got to do some inspections with him now. The movie theater was one that I went out and kind of helped with. It's a pretty big project. He's going to be having a lot of apartment stuff come in and these bigger projects. So I'll have to start filling in and helping him on some of those. When you get these huge projects like that, just one inspector doing it's not enough. You really need some other people there. Some of the highlights I wanted to tell you from last year. One of the big ones is that we started the year 4 guys shy. We are fully staffed right now. I think this is the first time that we've been fully staffed and not immediately lost somebody since I started. I do attribute that to the 48-96 schedule that we went to. So now instead of the guys working 24 on, 48 off, so 1 day on, 2 days off, they now work 2 days on and get 4 days off. So everything works out the same. They just get more days off in a row. People have actually came and tested with us because we were running the 48-96. We were actually stealing prospective firefighters from Portland, to the point that they just changed to 4896 because no one was applying. So we kind of led the area on that. We got brush 35 last year. We ordered ladder 1, which I hope you guys saw the pictures of that being built. Later, if you're interested, I can give you the website to go to, and every Friday you can see the progress of this truck being built. It's super neat.
Would you please send that, because I think that's important for other people to see too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Website.
The first shots, if you saw on our Facebook, was just the cab. It's just a bare metal aluminum cab, and then the next set, there's paint on it, and then the next set will be something else. So, also the administration truck that got approved, it's almost completed. It's in the last final phase of what it's getting done. We got grants for radios for all the trucks. All of those radios are now, all but 2 are installed. One's is on its way to Wisconsin right now to be put in the new truck, and one is going in the new Chief truck. The other one is the Flint Hills grant that we got $6,000 on. That's going to be used towards bunker gear. There's going to be some new laws coming out that basically are going to mandate that each firefighter now has 2 sets of gear, not just 1 set of gear that we were already having trouble keeping up with, but now two sets of gear. The reason of that is the cancer initiatives that have come out. Firefighters are way more likely to get cancer than anyone else, and so they're trying to mitigate that any way they can. And so in the old days, we just go into a fire, would come out, one guy spray one guy off, the other guy spray the other guy off. Now, all of our gears have to be treated as a hazardous material until they're decontaminated back at the station. So in order for the guys to be still in service, another set of gear has to be put in place. The cat rescue video, which is still a hot topic, I still get information on it. Way over 11 million views.
That's amazing.
Worldwide. I love that one. Firefighters and cats, right? And then 2 of the major goals that I had set for myself that I hope that will make me a better leader is I graduated the Fire Marshal Executive Training, and I also graduated from the Chief Executive Fire Officer Academy.
Congratulations.
Those were big deals. So those were nice to get behind me. We had the first ever firefighter wedding inside the fire station.
Aww.
And it's the second time I've got to marry a firefighter, perform the ceremony for a firefighter.
I'm glad you clarified that.
We also had 2 babies born. We
You're a little
had 2
bit slow over there.
in the state in the department. So got some babies out there, and the last thing, and I think this is super important, and this is hard work on a lot of people in the city, is the ISO being able to stay at 4.
That's excellent.
When I came here, and I'm literally, when I say it was day 1, I was here at 8 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, the ISO agent was in the office talking. And he was already, it looks like you guys are dropping. If the city would have dropped back to a 5, that is an impact on every citizen and business owner in this town. By us being able to keep this ISO 4, that saves them money. And this is directly, about 50% of it is fire department. 40% of it is what the water, what the water can do in the city, how much water we have. And 10% of it is what our dispatch capabilities are. But the main load was on the fire department to prove that we can do what we can do. And it's attributed to what the city had already planned for the department, that we had the engines already in place, that our paid staff was a huge help, having paid firefighters and not volunteers. ISO, it takes 3 volunteers to equal 1 paid guy. Now, that's not saying that volunteers are not as useful or professional or capable of doing the job, we're here. We have a 1-minute ramp time, we're out the door. That's a huge thing for ISO. Our training, our inspections, our prevention, that we train kids, that we do CPR programs, all of that factors in to that ISO rating. And so we made it. We're gonna be able to hold that ISO 4. I'm hoping when the ladder truck gets here, we can really start working and maybe get to that ISO 3. I think it's gonna be tough, but I'd like to see us do that.
And
That's a goal.
affecting our homeowners insurance, correct?
That's right. It should stay the same now, but if it would have dropped to the 5, everybody's insurance rates would have gone up. That's what would have happened. And so, I was really happy and that was one of my goals, when I started, was like, okay, my goal is to keep this rating. That's what I wanted to do.
Well, thank you.
All right?
Thank
Any questions?
you. Thank you.
All good?
Thank you.
All right, thank y'all.
Okay, now we're gonna skip 14 and go to 15.
In the case of 14, there is a work session scheduled for January 28th. Several items are scheduled. The Dannenbaum presentation, and that is, I believe, 100% complete now as far as the design goes for Con Brown Harbor and all the improvements out there. So you'll get a report on what that entails, what it's going to look like. It'll be the first report for you. Also an update on the Census 2020 and update on downtown financing. And this is your last meeting in this building for about 4 months. So we're moving over to the Civic Center. And it'll be somewhat inconvenient, but working with the Civic Center very closely to make it as less inconvenient for you as possible, trying to keep that to a minimum. But this will be the last meeting for a long period of time because the roof project is ongoing, is essentially started already, and also the EOC work. All that will be happening concurrently. So a lot's going to be going on. It's going to be, and we've been going through days of moving boxes because that room has to be empty in there. And Sandra and her crew, they've put out contracts on several of us because of all the work that they've had to do. But it is empty, and what Karina and Mary have had to do over in our side of the building also. All of that is related to the 4 months that you will be out of here, and all the work that's going on with the EOC and on the major roof project. And the good part of all that is it's taken a while to get there. We're there finally, and that's one of those is a FEMA, the other's a Rebuild, right, Rebuild Texas. But we're there finally, and we'll get through these 4 months, and 2 major accomplishments will be completed. So anyway, just to make you aware of that.
All right, thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to citizen comments. Citizen comments are intended for the matter that are not scheduled on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and address for the record. Be advised that the Texas Open Meeting Act prohibits the city council from responding and discussing your comments. The law authorizes the following: make statements of factual information, recite existing policy, advise that this subject may be placed on the agenda for a subsequent meeting.
Come on up to the podium.
Good evening, council members, mayor. My name is Juan Alvarez. I'm a pastor here at this little church right down the road from y'all on Cleveland Boulevard, right across from Dairy Queen. We've had a lot of plans we want to do this coming year, this new year, and one of our plans is to become more involved with the community. We'd like to offer a food pantry and offer some hot meals to people. And we'd like to have a meeting with the mayor to discuss some of these plans and what we need to do. And I already given some information to somebody today here at City Hall, and I hope he received this information. My phone number, our address is 510 Cleveland Boulevard. Our church is named Casa de Oración, House of Prayer. Okay, so that's all I have. God bless you.
Thank you, Juan.
Hello, my name is Robert Esquivel. I've recently bought some property here in the city of Aransas Pass on North Whitney Street. I've come to find out that it's only been paved within, I think, the last 2.5, 3 years. May I approach?
Sure.
And I'm requesting to try to get y'all to, I guess, accommodate some money for getting utility services in that area. I've been told that the area's been in the city since, I think, around 1910. Here we are, I think it's about 3 blocks from City Hall here. And yet-
I'm sorry, what's the address?
It's on North Whitney.
North
and
Whitney.
by North Matters, there's no address there, since it's on the
Okay.
land. The first picture there is the property before I purchased it. The second is after I purchased it, had it surveyed, had it cleared, and then started moving on to wanting to build a house out there. Come to find out, there is no utilities in the alleyway. They're, I think, 200 or 300 feet away from me. And I'm just requested y'all would access some money in next year's budget to put in the infrastructure of sewer and water for me, so I'll be able to build out there.
Are there any other houses near this?
Yes, ma'am, there's houses on North Maddox and Whitney on the corner, and then it's a long block, it seems like, and on the opposite side of, I think that's Myrtle there in Maddox, there's another group of houses there. And I'm pretty much towards the middle of those. Next to West Pryor, where it's been abandoned and closing, I think back in 1983. 2 of my properties border that road there. Because without services, I'm not able to build or do anything, and I can't afford to put that infrastructure in myself.
Of course, this is not in this budget, but certainly it's something we can look at for the next budget, if the council so directs.
I think so.
So
Absolutely.
you're looking at building one home or just different?
Just one home
Just- okay.
for me and my wife and my
All right.
children. I mean, just a little vacation home for something for
Sure.
us to. We've been coming down here for the last 30 years and really enjoy the area. Sorry Harvey came by and wiped y'all out. Y'all are starting to rebound, so. And I want to be part of that process.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir,
Yes.
very much.
That would open it for so much.
Sure would.
Thank you for investing in Aransas Pass. We appreciate it. We'll
Thank-
see what we can get done.
Hear from y'all about getting the services. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, now we're gonna go into executive session for the second time today on section 551.072, deliberations regarding real property relating to BWTX 66, section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meeting Act, to meet with his attorney to seek legal advice on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the city council under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meeting Act relating to update on Con Brown Harbor project. And it's 8 o'clock.
Está listo.
We reconvene into open session at 9:20? 9:25.
No action necessary?
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.